So Tucker Carlson has been a bit of a fraud for quite some time now. I mean, this guy constantly talks about how like populism and caring about workers, working Americans, but I mean, none of the policies he supports actually would benefit working Americans, and he's always talking about how he's anti-establishment, but he supports Donald Trump. And so that basically shows you that he is insincere in what he claims to support. But frankly, he's just getting lazy in some of his arguments. And his newest smear against Joe Biden is, I even think that the most harsh Joe Biden critic would be like, yeah, that's not true. So we're going to play the clip and then we'll come back and we'll talk about it.
Something really surprising. Joe Biden, after a lifetime on the left, now supports bringing religion back into schools. Watch.
I wish we taught more in our schools about the Islamic faith.
Ayaan Hirsi Ali is a former Muslim, author of the book Heretic, Why Islam Needs a Reformation Now, and one of our all-time favorite guests. We're honored to have her tonight. And thanks so much for coming on. So how do you assess it? Most people have not seen this video. I'm interested in your thoughts as someone who's deeply learned on this subject. What do you take from this?
Well, I mean, if you go on, by the way, Tucker, hi, nice to see you again, and thank you for having me on. But when you go to the next sentence, the next thing that he says on the clip, which is, if you see something wrong, and he quotes the Prophet Muhammad, then use your hand, and if you can't use your hand, use your tongue, and if you can't use your tongue, then use your heart. What he's basically doing from that point onwards is enforcing Sharia law.
And so, I mean, I could count on one hand the number of people that actually think that Joe Biden wants to enforce Sharia law. And I mean, it's so telling. Like, the clip that they use is just so, like, clear. I mean, it's like a 2-second clip. He's like, yeah, I think that they should teach about Islam in school. And that's it. And even, like, the ladies, it like shows that they were just, like, even lazy about doing their clipping for this, because they don't even show the clip that the lady is talking about, because she's talking about, like, what he says after, and apparently he, like, quotes Muhammad or something. I'm not honestly sure the context of this, but seriously, does anyone actually think that Joe Biden wants to institute Sharia law in our schools? Like, it's super clear that he's saying that they should learn about the different religions. I mean, I know that when I was in school, we learned about the difference between, like, Sunni and Shia Muslims, and that seems relevant, just like you would learn the difference between, Catholics and Baptists or something within Christianity, or the difference between Christianity and Judaism. I mean, these are pretty basic thing, and I mean, there are millions, if not billions, of Muslims in this world, so it seems like not a terrible idea, but it's just so lazy, this idea that he wants to teach Sharia law to people. And even, like, the quote that they're saying is the evidence that he wants to enforce Sharia law. It's this super, like, pretty laid back quote. I mean, what was it that use your hand, if not your hand, then your tongue, and then if not your tongue, then your heart. I mean, that seems pretty, I mean, it seems to end with love. That seems to be, like, a pretty peaceful thing. Like, but, like, I mean, Joe Biden is the epitome of moderate, like, being a centrist and just not radical in any way. And this whole, like, these talking points that Joe Biden has, like, kowtowed to the far radical left. I mean, does anyone actually believe that? I mean, Joe Biden hasn't been for the left in any way, shape, or form. He's been actually very against it for most of his career. And almost all of their criticisms of him are, like, contradictory. Like, they'll bring up, like, the crime bill and stuff, and then they'll be like, but he's actually part of the radical left now. So it's like, which is it? I mean, was he for the crime bill that, like, locked up a bunch of people, or is he part of the radical left now that wants to defund the police? It just doesn't make sense, because it's not true. And it's the same thing with Kamala Harris. I mean, the people saying, like, and I don't think anyone buys that Kamala Harris is, besides, I mean, people that weren't gonna like Kamala Harris anyway, that she is, like, because there's this, like, this notion that people are running with now that she's actually the most, like, far left senator in the country, based on, like, some weird poll, or not poll, like, rating that's, like, one website did one time. And it's just like, I mean, it has, like, that ranking has Bernie Sanders at number 7, and so, like, that's obviously not, like, how it is. And also, I mean, Kamala Harris has voted for like Trump's military budgets, and so it's like, I don't know what metrics that, like, ranking was looking at, but, like, if you vote for Trump's military budgets, you're not progressive. You're just not. And so it's just a little lazy. And, like, I don't even think that Tucker Carlson thinks that Joe Biden wants to enforce Sharia law. I really don't. And I think that Tucker Carlson believes a lot of crazy things. But I think that they're a little lost in the messaging right now. I don't think that they want, because it's a little hard to be like, oh, like, anti-establishment when your guy is literally the president. Like, you are the establishment at that point when you control, I mean, literally, the Senate have the majority of people on the Supreme Court and hold the presidency. Not really sure how you can rail against the establishment and call it corrupt. And so it's little sad, but also a little funny. And so anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you disagreed with anything I said, please leave a comment down below. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and have a great